Shalom family. So let's dive right into the latest Israel news, what's happening, and you should be watching very closely. I've been posting on the main community wall some of the things that have been happening, and it looks exciting, it looks edge of your seat stuff, and it looks like we're flying soon. So diving right in, Iranian exile in Israel envisions a King Cyrus project for the Middle East peace. King Cyrus project. He envisions a transformed Middle East built on what he calls the King Cyrus Project, a Persian complement to the Abraham Accords. The system in Iran has already lost much of its power, Dana told them, drawing on what he described as daily communications with contacts across Iran and intermediaries in Europe. The majority of Iranians are against the system, and that's why the King Cyrus Project would work. Now that's interesting. King Cyrus, Abraham Accords, peace for the Middle East, peace and stability, peace and security. Are we seeing that foundational gathering of peace that will be strengthened by one who comes after we're gone? I think so. Hamas to respond to the ceasefire proposal soon, but satisfied with assurances that Israel is ready to end the war. First time Israel is ready to discuss agreement to final end of the war. So even though Israel's gone and had discussions and they've sent people to go to the negotiations, they are set on their requirement that they get all the hostages back, which is only right, and that they make sure Hamas is not in power in the strip afterwards. They need to go into exile, which again, anybody else in that position would grab it. They've literally been offered millions before to go into exile. They've been offered to go with their families, and they wouldn't be touched by Israel. They will be. Mossad will get around to it. But still, they don't want to take that. They're not interested in the money. They're not interested in leaving. They want to stay and play their part in fostering that hatred and terrorism towards Israel going ahead. And that shows you exactly who they're actually dealing with. So will or won't this thing come to pass? We'll see. It seems that Israel, bowing very much to what Trump wants, is really ready to make some sort of a deal and bring this to an end. Move forward into bigger things in the Middle East, like peace and security, peace and stability. Maybe a wider agreement for a period of, maybe 7 years? With US support rising, Israeli leaders are now pushing for Judea and Samaria's sovereignty. In a rare show of full unity, all Likud ministers, along with the Speaker of the Knesset, have signed a joint letter calling for the immediate application of Israeli sovereignty over Judea and Samaria before the end of the Knesset's summer session. The message is direct. The time for waiting is over. The statement, organized with the support of the Yesha Council, appeals to Netanyahu to seize what they call a historic window of opportunity. With Iran's regional influence diminished and the US-Israeli alliance growing stronger, the ministers believe the conditions are finally right to take the long-debated step of extending Israeli law to the disputed territories of Judea and Samaria. The government must act now. We have a responsibility to complete the mission and secure Israel's future. The ministers referenced October 7 and the broader threat posed by terrorist factions operating in that region as proof that Israel can no longer afford to rely on interim solutions or ambiguous territorial arrangements. They need to take Judea and Samaria as part of Israel. Not the West Bank, Judea and Samaria. Places that Jesus walked and taught and did amazing things that he considers Israel. The world, however, disagrees, but it seems to disagree with God on almost everything. Israeli Air Force strikes 100 terror sites in Gaza in the past 24 hours. The IDF has operational control of more than 65% of the strip. The IAF attacked major targets, terror targets, including rocket launchers, weapon storage facilities, according to the military on Friday afternoon. The strikes were carried out in support of ground troops battling Palestinian terrorists. This you saw just before the cessation of hostilities between Israel and Iran. They picked up the pace and hammered as much as they could. And now, just before a possible cessation of hostilities in Gaza, they're suddenly picking up the pace and hammering as much as they can. Again, is it a similar kind of situation? I do think so. I think they're trying to get as much done as they can get done in case they get cornered into calling it a day on this entire story. 400 plus Arab terrorists arrested across Judea and Samaria. Security forces dismantled 6 Palestinian terror cells, 6, with plans to attack Israeli civilians and security forces, and they will get money for that, paid to slave from the Palestinian Authority. During the June 13 to 24 Operation Rising Lion targeting Iran, Israeli security forces intensified their counter-terror efforts across Judea and Samaria, conducting more than 2,500 raids. In addition, they reportedly dismantled 6 Palestinian terrorist cells that had been planning attacks. The IDF stated approximately 160 illegal weapons and more than 1 million shekels in funds intended for terror attacks were confiscated. That's why they need to take control of Judea and Samaria. 400 terrorists in one operation rounded up in that area. Jewish land. And the world's saying, no, it's fine. Just live with them comfortably. 400 terrorists with weapons and plans to attack civilians. Your family, your wife, your mother, your children, you. But it's fine. Just live peacefully with them. Don't worry about it. That's what the world's telling Israel. How does that make sense? Arab sheiks called to split Hebron from Palestinian Authority and make a separate peace with Israel. This is big, people. There will be no Palestinian state in 1,000 years, said the leaders of the Arab community in Hebron in their call to ditch the PA and enter the Abraham Accords as an independent emirate, making peace with Israel and pushing for diplomatic ties. They're 100% correct. There will be no Palestinian state in 1,000 years. Much, much shorter time frame than that too. It's an absolute joke is what it is. And God himself is going to set things straight very shortly. On March 24 this year, 5 sheiks from the biblical city of Hebron penned a letter to the Israeli Minister of Economy and Industry, Nir Barkat, proposing that their city secede from the Palestinian Authority and establish itself as a separate emirate, and then negotiate its own peace deal with Israel. Hebron, a city of major religious significance that features prominently in the Bible, is home to over 200,000 people, the vast majority of them Arabs with Palestinian Authority identity cards. Under the plan conveyed to Israel in the March letter, Hebron's Arab leadership would break away from the PA and form the separate emirate, which would then enter the Abraham Accords, recognizing Israel and establishing full relations. Since March, many other local leaders have joined the Sheikh's initiative, albeit anonymously, and they currently, from estimates on we want to err on the side of caution, about 500,000 of them are part of this push to oust the PA completely, form their own emirate, and make peace and join the Abraham Accords. That could change the entire climate completely and set up the perfect board for a peaceful situation. But we'll see. It's definitely something to watch. The talks are ongoing between the sheiks and Israel, and they're coming to a head. So we'll see what happens. Maybe Netanyahu in America right now today is mentioning this to Trump, and they're talking about the ramifications of this deal as well. IDF to summon over 50,000 ultra-Orthodox Jews in a massive push for a Haredi draft. The army on Sunday started summoning all 54,000 remaining eligible Haredim for IDF service, the largest ever coordinated mass pursuit of that sector. The ultra-Orthodox will be called to arrive for actual service by July 2026. It comes after 24,000 Haredim were already summoned in split-up rounds of the last year, with very small results in actual Haredim coming in for military service. Under pressure by the High Court of Justice and public opinion to broaden the draft against the backdrop of unprecedented numbers of soldiers being killed, wounded, and performing longer reserve service, the 54,000 being summoned includes all ages eligible from 16 and a half years old to those in their 20s ending at around 26. The IDF's goal for the coming year still remains at integrating 4,800 Haredim, a jump of 3,000 over past years, with a larger jump for the future years. However, no one expects, without open support from Haredim politicians and rabbis, the minuscule Haredi positive response to the draft to radically improve or increase. They believe they should be allowed to focus on study of the Torah and the oral tradition. 100%. They don't have to serve their country. They don't have to go to the army. They don't have to do any national service. They just study the law. That's what they want to do. And there's always been this thing about if you push them too hard, you lose the support of the ultra-Orthodox rabbis, which have a lot of power in the communities. And Netanyahu has always been careful about playing with those kind of movements and groups, because that can cost him politically and powerfully when it comes to mattering with times like votes and changes in government. But now they're pushing it again, so we'll see what happens. Are the Haredim going to increase? Are they going to rock up? Are they actually going to start locking them up for deserting and refusing to obey the summons to come and serve? I personally think they should serve. Why should other Jews go and serve their country and arrive and be doing their service, but the Haredim don't have to? Some Haredim have gone, so why not the rest? But again, contentious, difficult issue. These people are very staunch in their views. These are the same people that hunted me through the streets when I was in Israel ministering many years ago. They are very coordinated, they are very aggressive, and they are very set on their viewpoints. And they don't like it when anybody disagrees with them. So we'll see how this goes down politically. But it's interesting to see that they're actually trying to push it for once. Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu landed in the US to meet Trump amidst the Gaza ceasefire talks. Trump reportedly wants to finalize a framework for ending the war. Netanyahu highlighted his opposition to any hostage deal that would leave Hamas in power in Gaza. Hamas has offered to release all hostages in exchange for a full Israeli withdrawal from Gaza and a formal end to the war. Netanyahu rejects those terms, maintaining the war will continue until Hamas surrenders, disarms, and goes into exile. Hamas refuses. And that's where we're at with that whole story. Can Trump now force the issue, get Hamas to agree and change their mind to go into exile? Can they throw enough money at this terrorist problem to make it go away and bring about a great peace coup for Trump, that he can say, look, I'm the guy that brought peace to Israel between them and Gaza? We'll see. A lot of people are saying in political circles that Trump feels Netanyahu owes him for the help America gave by sending the flying Doritos of death to go and help with the Iran bombing. And so he'll use that leverage to squeeze Netanyahu to accept things to make this thing come to pass and bring about peace and an end to the war. But hopefully Netanyahu will stick to his guns and hold on to those terms, that they can't accept anything if Hamas remains, because then all the lives lost, all the time spent, everything was for naught, because the enemy that committed those atrocities on October 7 and promised to continue doing that will still be living right there in their backyards and still in power. And that is not acceptable. So we'll see. This is, I think, Bibi's defining moment. Can he stand up to Trump? Can he say no without having a big sour meltdown like Trump and Elon Musk? Can he? Will he, for the sake of his people? We're going to watch. I'd say watch very closely today in America what comes out of the White House. God bless. Keep praying for Israel and keep looking up. Shalom.